कैसी आ रही है जो रिलीज होने से पहले घाटे में चली गई।
पठान मूवी का बायकॉट करो। बॉयकॉट पठान।
फुल्ली बाइकॉट।
तो इस पे भी कोई चैलेंज लगा ले कि हिट होगा कि फ्लॉप होगा। मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि पठान जो है सुपर फ्लॉप होगा।
It's all about humanity. About humanity.
तीन दिन में 300 करोड़ का आंकड़ा पार।
It's all about humanity.
मेरी बहुत अच्छी किस्मत है कि मेरे पास लाखों करोड़ों मिलियंस बिलियंस लोग ऐसे हैं जो मुझे प्रेम देते हैं। तो जब मुझे कमाल की बात यह है कि मुझे गॉड ने इतना सराहा है कि मुझे उसने हमेशा के लिए बालकनी का टिकट दिया हुआ है।
Imagine growing up watching Hindi films, falling in love with the escapism they guarantee, and along the way developing a relationship with those fictional characters, so much so that you end up falling in love with actors also. Just a few years ago, the discourse around Hindi film stars was not about their religion, surname, or political ideology, but the characters and stories that they were a part of. One such actor who became an active part of especially those who were avid film fans in the 90s and mid-2000s was Shah Rukh Khan. An actor who rose to fame from nothing and is considered today the last of the stars from the Hindi film industry. But as is the case with the nature of the film industry, where one is on top, an oscillating nature of stardom is bound to happen to someone who was as big as SRK in the mid-2000s. And with consecutive failures, Shah Rukh Khan really was at the lowest point of his career with his debacle Zero in 2018. One had assumed that the era of the actor was over, and one really doubted whether he had the capability to bounce back after such a dismal run at the box office. One started making headlines already, writing him off when he didn't sign a future project immediately, and a 4-year hiatus further solidified in the minds of especially those who only wished for his downfall that his era is officially over. The same media houses today that speak of the dignity and grace with which he has conducted himself, the same media houses that now want to interview him, were the ones that ran campaigns against him and his family for months. Painting his own child and the entire film industry as a cesspool of drugs and debauchery, Shah Rukh Khan presumably decided that he will not be giving any public interviews to anyone from now. If that is said to be true, of course being an ardent viewer of his interactions with the media will be dearly missed. But does anyone really blame him? For the vultures that were frothing in the mouth for his downfall now want all his attention after he's given the biggest hit for the Hindi film industry. The same media houses that today sing praises of the financial performance of Pathaan were giving legitimate news coverage and doing primetime debates about the boycott campaigns against the film, and how this noise that persists online will of course be an indication to how the public does not have any connection to the aura of the superstar, and that the film will tank miserably. What happens when a movie becomes so successful, misconceptions are spread around social media to become fact. And when a film is suffering through so much negativity, the mass public wants you to work in binaries. What has happened in this age of social media and especially film criticism that is put on the pedestal of even political discourse is that there is no room for nuance or grey. Either one has to identify as absolutely hating a film and the ones associated with it, or having to be the flag bearers in defending each and every element of it. The concept of loving a film holistically despite its flaws is absent in public debates on Twitter because they just want allies to reiterate their own feelings versus challenging it in any way. The recent quarter of PVR suffering huge losses is aimed at Pathaan for being PR-driven box office numbers, but the CFO himself in interviews talks about how except Pathaan, nothing worked, making one really acknowledge and understand that some of the fragments in society just want to discredit and wish for Shah Rukh's failure, even with the breadcrumbs that are flung their way. What people forget is that in my review of the film Pathaan, never did I label it to be a masterpiece without any flaws. Never did I say even today that it's the best film of 2023. But what I did say was that in the midst of the flavor on the big screen being star-led action films, it really did bring the atmosphere of euphoria and celebration back to Hindi cinema. I know that avid viewers of the channel understand the points I've brought up in the reviews, but I think it's important to bring clarity to lies that get spilled. I criticized the mid-music and choreography despite the growing love it got with the ecstasy that was felt as people unabashedly transitioned to song and dance in packed theatres. I vehemently disliked the comedic sequences and felt Siddharth Anand just wanted to cover every element of the world through his action set pieces. But did it not have standout moments? Everyone was bowled over by John Abraham's badass portrayal of Jim, the hand-to-hand action set pieces that especially introduced Shah Rukh Khan's character, and the badass cameo of Salman. But more importantly, the film stood out because Shah Rukh Khan and the film's dialogues were in direct correlation to what this film meant for film lovers. A man wounded and broken returning back to take the position that belongs to him. An orphan who was abandoned in a theatre, who does not have a religion, only assumed that his country raised him, so he should serve it back. There is a meta poetry to it that nobody acknowledges. I concluded my review by saying that the flaws are not overwhelming enough to ruin the experience of this action extravaganza. An inconsistent first half transitions to get into full throttle in the second, leading to setting in stone the fact that the Badshah is truly back. When one says you had to see it to believe it, I mean it in reference to the atmosphere in theatres because of Pathaan, as if the audience as a whole, for their love for cinema and Shah Rukh Khan, rose to support him, hooted, cheered and yelled, and made sure that the noise does not distract them, that the noise filled with venom does not make you forget why you fell in love with the movies. The same retrospective criticism that KGF Chapter 2 received after it released digitally are the people who missed the atmosphere that the film created in theatres. The mass hysteria was unparalleled and something that just cannot be replicated in the comfort of your home, on a laptop or a phone. It is the same case with Pathaan. This YRF project and its days leading to its release was filled with statements and news that only wished for its downfall. People had already prepared their obituaries of Shah Rukh Khan and his stardom on the day of the release of the film. But this is the time where the audience chose that love and the celebration of films will persevere above the hate.